Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast number 841. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Whether you need a landing page or some kind of a gallery or a blog or a weblog, as I think the kids call them, or an online store, it's all included with your Squarespace website. Start your free trial today. Squarespace.com. Enter the offer code Nerdist to get 10% off your first purchase. More about Squarespace in a couple of minutes. Right now, I'd like to take you to the exciting world of the Nerdist Community Corkboard. These are the corkboard happenings for things in your community. It's just the corkboard that's outside the market that is the Nerdist grocery store. And when you're carrying your bag of goods out to your car, hey, I'm going to stop and look what all these note cards are. What are things that are happening in my community? Well, Comedy Abroad is a company that helps nonprofits in Latin America by raising funds with stand-up comedy shows. In 2 tours, they've raised more than $18,000 for 4 nonprofits, and they want to do more, but they need your help. They currently have a fundraiser to help make more shows happen. The charity support to help keep kids in school, help families living in poverty, and more. To find out more or donate, go to startsomegood.com/comedyabroad. And hey, I know the Wednesday Night Meltdown show with Jonah and Kumail is over, and you're probably sad about that, but here's some good news. There's a new Wednesday night show in town at Meltdown. Jay Larson and Rory Scovel are hosting a weekly show called The Rabbit Hole. So it's great comics every week. Comedy show, stand-up comedy show has filled in that gap. So go check it out. Tickets and lineups and more can be found at nerdmeltla.com. This episode is Jake Gyllenhaal, who I've never met before, didn't know what to expect. Really nice guy, really warm, had a great conversation. I mean, it was one of those things where I kind of forgot about halfway through that we were actually recording a podcast and that he and I weren't just hanging out, having a coffee, and just talking about shit. So it was very cool that he made time in his schedule to come on and be on the podcast. I didn't really know that much about him. I haven't really seen him do any long form stuff. So this was really great, and I hope you are enjoyed and are as illuminated as I was. His movie that you should go see is Nocturnal Animals. It is in theaters now. Tom Ford directed. The movie is stunning. The acting in it is incredible. Jake is in it. Amy Adams is in it. Michael Shannon is in it. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Laura Linney. It's a fantastic cast. So go see it. Nocturnal Animals in theaters now. If you want more information about it, you can follow them on Twitter at Nocturnal Animal, singular there. But on Facebook, it is facebook.com/Nocturnal Animals and Instagram.com/Nocturnal Animals. And as I said, this episode brought to you by Squarespace. You want to make a thing, but why worry about how much experience you need to have presenting that to the world by creating a haphazard blog or a store or whatever? Squarespace has all the tools you need. Just you let them be your guide through this process. It's very easy. They have amazing templates, or if you have a lot of coding experience, then you can do that as well. You get a free custom domain. Squarespace makes adding a domain to your site simple. If you sign up for a year, you're going to get a custom domain free for a year. Seamless commerce tools if there's something that you want to sell, and 24/7 customer support. Every member of the customer care team is an experienced Squarespace user, so they will be able to answer any range of questions that you might have and not just be staring at a screen looking for the right response. So start your free trial today. Squarespace.com. Enter the offer code Nerdist. Get 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace, set your website apart. And now here's the Nerdist Podcast number 841 with Jake Gyllenhaal. Katie, please do the honors.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
It's really just Tokyo. Tokyo is really its own specific subculture.
Is your wife Japanese?
She's not.
Oh.
She's American. She's from Connecticut.
So did you go to like Kyoto?
We did.
Nice.
Yeah. We got out into the traditional. Have you been to Japan?
Yeah.
Did you ever shot anything there or spent time there?
No. When I was 12, I went there with my mother's best friend is Japanese, so I went to Japan with her and her son, and I was there for a month.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we went everywhere. She's like a ceramics dealer, so she took us around, and I saw like every part of like, you know. I
That's
remember
great.
like these hidden Christians. You know that the hidden Christians, like
No.
there were all these hidden Christians in Japan at a certain time. So they all had to hide that they were Christians.
Silence is about 17th century.
Oh right,
Jesuit priests.
that's right. Oh well, there you go. So
Wow.
so
What? See,
right on point.
we know about dirty underwear machines,
And you know about Jesuit priests.
so that
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
gives you a sense of who's where in the room. I'm surprised you haven't been back as in like no one sent you there to do a junket or something.
I have done that too,
Oh,
but
you
you
have.
don't really experience.
You don't get to see
space.
anything.
No, you like yeah.
Do you ever get a choice where you go, "Hey, I'll go, but you need to just let me hang out there for a week," or is it just get in, get out?
I try, but like we never really can pull it off.
Yeah.
It was always like, you know, you like always try and do that. You're like, hey, like, can I take advantage of the situation? They're like, no, it's work, you know. So that's sort of always like,
You've traveled all over the world. Well, I've seen a lot of hotel rooms where I've done junket interviews.
and like a really nice restaurant every once in a while, which
Yeah.
is really nice, but not the real thing. But Mary and I always make it a point to like find some like interesting, cool places. It's the only reason why she hangs out with me, actually. It's true though.
I would think it's the best reason to be a publicist. Like, well, I gotta be there, you know. I gotta go. I gotta make
Not
sure
for
everything's
someone
okay.
who's as experienced as and wise as she is. She's bored by it all.
At
So
this
you have to
point-
make it interesting for
At this
her.
point,
Yeah.
I would imagine she's seen
Yes.
pretty much everything. What do you like to do when you go to a town? Is there a specific thing? It's like, oh, I want to see this kind of a museum or this kind of a local thing. Do you have a routine when you have a little bit of time in a new town?
Food is food.
Food, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Japan, it's a lot of fish faces. You eat a
Wait,
lot-
hold on. Like, as in the band?
No. Is that a
Sorry,
band?
I was going Kit Kat when you were going Jesuit priest. I
It's so
apologize.
great.
Yeah.
You know, they just leave the faces on everything. Like you're eating the fish. It's like, oh, the face is on. This is a fish. You're
That's
eating a fish.
great. Yeah.
I mean,
fish eyes are good.
it seems like it would be. My wife thought it was amazing. She was like, I'm like,
You
I
don't
don't know
like
if you
that.
want to. No.
Oh.
It just feels like. I don't know. It just feels like, oh, you're gonna eat the last thing the fish saw before it. Like it just feels so macabre to me.
But I mean, that's what we're doing. I mean, like that's the truth of what we're doing.
I know, but I'm American and I want to be lied to. I want to be lied to about what I'm eating. I don't want to know what it is.
How apropos.
It absolutely is.
Yes.
That's a perfect place. It's a perfect
Yes.
place to start. Were you on the lot doing other junket stuff today? What are you doing?
No. I wasn't. I was. I'm in LA working on this film that we're in post on.
Nice. Was this the one you produced?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Stronger.
Yeah.
From 9 Stories.
Yes.
Your production company.
Yes.
I know a few things.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, you know, you have to interview someone. You should probably Google them or something.
Well, this is not an interview. I just want you to know. It's not
good.
an interview. I think interviews are. I'm not a journalist. This is just a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
No, I know.
There's no
I know.
prepared questions.
I know. We talked about Kit Kats. That's how you started the conversation. So
I do. Well, I kind of like to see where people, because I think one of the fun things about podcasts is that it's sort of the first medium where people really get a sense of who people are as humans. Like, what are you like in a conversation? What
Yes.
kind of things interest you? As
Totally.
opposed to, I just think an hour of being interrogated is not fun. And then what happened? And then what did you do? Like, it just feels so.
I enjoy it because it makes me feel falsely important. So, you know, that's like, you know, free conversation will just allow for my stupidity to seep out. So I prefer like the interrogation style. It's just because I've been doing it for a while. So
No,
I've
you
become-
see, you're already like that. You're already wise. You're already wise. Stupid people think they're smarter than they are, and smart people think they're dumber than they are. That is a scientific fact. There was a scientific study that proved this.
Really?
I talk about it all the time on this podcast. The Dunning-Kruger studies. It's fascinating that they found that stupid people have a specific drive to claim to be smarter, have more information than they actually have, which explains a lot of the internet. And then the reverse is true for people who actually do know more, are like, oh, I don't really know, you know.
Well, then part of me is really stupid and part of me is really smart because half the time I feel like I know more than I actually do, and the other half I know that I don't. So-
When do you feel most comfortable? When do you feel like you are, oh, okay, I got this? When do you feel that way?
I guess very, very rarely, but I think it's not like a feeling that I have. I trust my instinct, not my gut. My gut has a lot of issues, so I trust my instinct, and so I think when that's happening, when that's connecting, there's this sense of joy, even if it's painful. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So I think there's sort of it's connected, the plug's right, and it's fitting in right, and that's when I kind of, I don't know. It's when I feel right.
Yeah.
It feels right.
And is that sort of, from project to project, do you just use that as, oh, this feels like the thing that I should do, or this seems like something I could do, or this is challenging in a specific way?
Not necessarily project to project. I think you make a decision, you dive in, and then moment to moment it changes. Like there's a moment, in every day, or a few moments in every day where it feels like something is magic, and then most of the time it's not. You
Right.
know? And so I mean that's how I feel, like making movies in particular. That's how I tend to feel like you're very rarely creating magic. It's just you're just generating crap until something magical comes from it, and you have to be patient for it to sort of arise.
Right.
And that's the thing is. That's why I think that David Lynch thing about like kind of catching the big fish is really true, is that it's there. You just have to humble yourself for it to come to you. And then, most of the time it doesn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
But not even like a project to project, but like within a project.
Yes,
I'm
that's
sure
what I
you're
mean,
Just,
yeah.
You're scooping it out and you're like, well, I hope, and I guess you just have to trust, well, this team seems to know what they're doing, so I trust them.
well, yes and no. I mean, I say that, but then I also pick very specifically based on so many. Like if I'm thinking about a project, oftentimes it's not just about a director or the screenplay. It's about all the other elements around it. With enough time in this business, I start to realize that the people who really make a movie are the people behind, what we consider behind the camera, whatever
Right.
that is. And so I usually really geek out on editors and cinematographers, and those people who put together a movie, who really do the technical work, because I see that that's where a movie is made. So for me, that's where I often make choices based on director alongside their cinematographer,
Sure.
or director alongside their cinematographer and editor, and their choices before that. And very rarely do I not, I mean, unless it's like this sort of, again, that instinct just says, yeah, I should move that way.
Is
But
it
I
enough that you want to direct? Do you want to direct a lot of stuff? I mean, like, do you really feel like this is a direction for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to direct other people's things, but I want to direct. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I do. But I want to make movies. I know this is gonna. It sounds sort of, things come to you as they come to you. And sometimes they come to me as an actor. Sometimes they come to me in the form of something I can help somebody make as a producer, and then maybe one day something will come to me in the form that, as a director in that position. I'm not like, oh, I want to be this thing. I want to tell stories, and however I fit into that process, I fit into that process.
Yeah. Well, the Nocturnal Animals cast is amazing, but I mean, like, all of you, I watched it last night, it was actually hard to sleep after watching the
really?
movie, because I couldn't shut my brain off, because it's an intense.
But everything was so pretty. So
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah. Oh, you mean that? Like what happens when? Yeah. It's. Yeah. I mean, it's
like,
one of those like, oh my god, like
murder is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
I don't want to give away anything, so that's why I'm sort of hesitant to talk too much about it, so that people can see it. But it's very. I mean, it's sort of a tragic tale of choices and adulthood, and. I just came away with like, oh my god, yeah, we're just so affected by the choice, like the simplest choices that we make in the moment. You think this is the right choice, it actually can have these devastating, butterfly effects later on, and that just ripple through the rest of your life.
Was that just because you just got married, or is that because you actually?
No, I was worried she would think that. I don't know. I'm still not sure how I tricked her into this. And I'm like, don't get any ideas, because your character is very much this kind of romantic, the romantic, like, hey, it should be about art and passion, and
Right.
and and even that, that's, again, without giving too much away, but the scene she has with Laura Linney Amy Adams has with Laura Linney is such an amazing scene, and then Laura Linney says like, "Oh, we all become our mothers." Like it's such a fucked up, and then just sort of going to bed with that, it just all kind of was all sinking in. But what is it about a movie when you come away from something? Do you want to feel a certain way? Are you not that result oriented, or do you want the audience to feel a certain way? What's your goal?
I read it when I read a screenplay, and eventually, if I do it, if somebody wants me to do it, I think you can only experience something. You can never experience the movie that you're in, right? You have the experience of reading the script, and the hope that if you're moved by it, that the audience will feel the same way at the end of the process of making the movie. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like I leave a script the way an audience leaves a movie that I'm in. Hopefully, when I decide to do something, I go, I then give over to the process and know that it's imperfect, mm-hmm. and the result I can never really watch. I can be a part of it. I can be in it and be a part of the process of making it, but with the understanding that I will never really truly be able to see it.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting because some other things that I actually did do some research on you, which I don't normally do, because I really don't know that much about you, and I don't know if that's by design, where you're like, where you're a little protective, but I was reading something that are you still into mindfulness?
I mean, like that's never ended.
Well, yeah, I just don't know. Because you never know if, like, sometimes you might see something and go, that was just a thing that I was doing at the time.
Nah, I'm not into being mindful anymore. I'm not interested in it.
Well, I know, but see, you make jokes about that, but because it requires a bit of effort and calmness and patience and learning, I am so interested to explore this idea, and I think most people don't even really think of it as an option, because the idea of just shutting your brain off in a society that kind of conditions us to think you have to be on all the time and you need to be doing stuff all the time. And if you're not on social media all the time or doing 100 hours of work a week or into, mm-hmm. that it does become an exhausting, very much diminishing returns kind of a game. So just hearing the way you describe how you fit into the bigger picture of this process made me think like, that's sort of a mindful, just giving yourself over and not trying to control. And so can you talk a bit about how you discovered this and what it's done for you, and please give me some advice on it?
Dude, you're way ahead of me. You just got married. I think first of all, I just have been profoundly blessed in my life. And so I am very aware of that. And I feel like, in that way, it's given me a perspective that is probably wrong. No, but is sort of a sense of like everything that I'm given is really, really a gift, and I have a pretty incredible life. So, the process I see around, the business that I'm in is it can just drive you mad, and I really am. I mean, not to say I'm not somebody who's like, I want people to see the movies I'm in, or
Sure.
I am ambitious. I am a capitalist in a lot of ways. I am, I'm a business person. I enjoy business. I love the brutality of that sometimes, mm-hmm. I've learned to grow. I've learned to take it less and less personally, which makes it more and more fun.
That is a real challenge.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's a big part of it. I think I have over the past few years just seen that I really have a wonderful group of friends in my life, and I've been responsible enough to be able to create a life that I feel like is sustainable. And so because of that, it just allows me I don't want for like more and more like world domination. I think people have that sort of strange thing in their minds, like in America now, where it's like this to this to this to make the money, buy the apartment, buy the building, buy the company, become president. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? I think that's a mistake.
Well, yeah, because I don't think people ever think, then what happened? It's like, I have to get this. Oh, well, then what happens?
Right.
oh, well, then I'll...
unless it really brings you joy. Like, that's the thing that I see. Like, you know, if people, like I was talking to a group of the interns over at WME, and we were talking, and I was saying, you know, look, you do your thing. Like, if you want to make lots of money and that's what you want to do, like, and that brings you joy, like, go do it. Mm-hmm. You know, like this idea that you're not supposed to because of like, go do it, but do what really truly does.
Sure.
You know what I mean? If you have the opportunity to.
Right.
Because we live in a world where so few people have the opportunity to do the things that truly bring them joy in their work necessarily.
Right.
In their life, yes. If you have a job, right? So
Yeah, but I think a lot of people don't really know what brings them joy, to be honest. And so I think they just sort of default to like, oh, well, I guess if I had more of this or more of that or more. But I think it's sort of like, you know, when you bug your parents, oh, I really want this train set for Christmas and my life will be amazing. And they give it to you and you're like, hey, this is great. And then the next day, you've had the experience. So it's really all about the process and going through the process and not so much about getting the thing itself.
yeah, that I have really let go of that. You know, like in my work. Mm-hmm. In my work, I think I think the process is the most fun part of being an actor. You know, that is all you have. As an actor, you do not have the pre-production part, and you don't have the post-production part, and you don't create the result. You only have the production part, and what you give as an actor is take after take of some sort of variation, and someone else puts it together.
Right.
You know. So in that, I have given up that idea. Where I think as an actor, sometimes people get into it for control, for the idea that they can be in a space where they can, you know, somehow they get to change something or control something. And for me, it's like what I've realized is you have no power. You can do something great and feel like you've done great work in a movie, and the movie can just not work.
Sure.
You can do the opposite. You can feel like, and a movie can be great. There's nothing that ever brings satisfaction beyond just loving the thing you're in and committing to it fully. Like just committing to it fully. Taking responsibility for the fact that, like, as an actor, that's the thing I realize is so often people get themselves actors. Like, if I speak to an actor, what I say and what I say to myself is like, you get into something and then you're in it, you're like, oh, this is not what I expected. It's like, but you chose that thing. Take responsibility for your choice.
Right.
And enjoy it.
Right.
Right. I didn't do that in the past.
When did you start doing that?
Like, maybe... Never. No. No. Like maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're 35 now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the right age to where you start going, oh, yeah, I was dumb in my 20s. Because it's how you... how you can...
Well, you don't say that in your 20s?
Well...
I was dumb in my 20s.
And in your 20s, you're just like, everything's... I'm so... I mean, I think
I
you're
was
scared.
miserable, man, in my
I know.
20s.
Well, it's a lot of like, am I doing the right thing? You're in that transitional period between awkward teen and adulthood, really. and particularly now in our culture... the adolescence just extends, totally. You know, it's not just.
And if you're an actor, like in making movies, and you get the opportunity to, your adolescence can extend forever,
forever. But it's all figuring out, and I think this goes back to mindfulness. How do you not make, you know, ego decisions, or how are you not piloted by your ego when it's very it can be very compelling to follow your ego choices, but those, I feel like, tend to always be the the choices that bring the most crap with them.
You think? I don't know. It depends on what you mean by that. Because I mean, if you're doing it because you want, you know, you're doing it because you want love for something, or you want affirmation. Like, obviously, I think ultimately it's going to bring crap. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think if you're doing it because you want to express something, you know, I oftentimes think about it like this. Like, I'm driving in a car and I'm listening to some music that, like, I don't want anybody to know that I'm listening to. Right? Like you're driving in the car and you're like
Backstreet's back.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it is, do you know what I mean? Or like, and then someone pulls up next to you, right? And for some reason you look over at them and you go like, what is that apparent judgment I feel? And they can't hear anything in the car unless your windows are rolled down. But even if they are, like, what is it that makes us want to, you know, be like, dude, I'm just listening to Jay-Z. Like, always listening to Jay-Z. No matter what I'm doing, I'm always listening to Jay. Like,
That's like Backstreet Boys. Are you sure that's Jay-Z? This sounds like Backstreet Boys.
Always have.
Did they do a song with him? I don't know. That just sounds like Backstreet Boys to me.
It's like, so, I mean, I think like, that's where I just said, I'm gonna like listen to this, whatever it is that makes me feel that I love. I'll just roll down the windows and like, you don't like it, then like, I sort of do care somewhere, if I'm really honest.
Sure.
Like I still do care.
Sure.
Like I still want people to think that I'm cool, but I also fundamentally like don't give a fuck.
Yeah, well, you can't.
And that's, but you do. I mean,
Right.
That's the thing. When you say like, oh, how do you just like not, I don't think it's ever about being like, oh, I'm just going to shut it off and never going to make a choice out of ego. Like, I still put on Frank Sinatra before I go out to feel like I'm fucking badass. You know what I mean? You have to, like, but somewhere deep inside, I know that I am vulnerable. I'm super sensitive. It's just who I am. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? When I was in high school and stuff like that, people always said, they would call me names and say things like that. I doubted myself in so many ways as a result of that. Throughout my career, people say things. People say incredible things, positive things, super negative things. People say stuff like that. And at a certain point, I just went like, dude, yeah, sure. I'm all those things. Like, who cares? This is me. I'm going to roll down my windows and like, yeah, I love listening to the Indigo Girls. Like, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is, And I love Jay-Z. Like, and I cry and I know how to, I'll spar you. You know what I mean? Like, they're all of those things and they are all me. So I don't need to make any excuses about them or pretend like I'm not.
But being that in touch, I feel like being that in touch with yourself is probably essential for acting, right? Because I would assume you would have to know yourself pretty well in order to figure out how to approach something. Or do you feel like the opposite is true? That for a lot of actors, it's maybe about escaping who they are.
I can't speak for anyone else, but I mean, like Ang Lee said the other night, I gave him an award and he said, I pretend so I can get closer to the truth. And I just thought, like, that seems about right, but at the same time, I really somewhere don't think of acting as pretend. And I do think that there are a lot of actors, there are a lot of different types of people, just like there are a lot of different types of actors. There are a lot of actors who come in and they've mapped out, like I was talking to my brother-in-law about this the other day. He's an actor and like, they've mapped out their path. They know where they're going. And I'm like, if I work with someone like that, like if you know what lily pad to lily pad you're going to go and you think I'm going to follow you there, like you are sorely misguided because I it's just not the way that I work. I have an intention. Mm-hmm. I know the intention of what the character, where they want to go. I have an action. And then everything is up in the air after that. And anything can go down. And to me, that's the fun of doing that work. So yeah, it's not about, I think maybe a lot of people think, oh, and I did for a long time, like this is a safe space. I'm going to like control in this space. I've controlled the character. I know my lines. I know my intention on a line, but I think I learned unless I understand myself or enjoy knowing myself, I'm never going to have fun when I'm working. And it's never going to be really dangerous in the best way.
Right. Are there specific types of I'm not asking you to name anyone specifically, but I mean specific personality types of directors that you tend to work better with.
Yes.
And what is that? What type of personality is that?
Well, I think I've changed. Maybe it's I'm a little older, and I think I could probably work well with anybody at this point, with the exception of people who, there are certain people who I will listen to even if they won't listen to me. And I think those are people who I just have a profound respect for their films and what they do. And that's a handful of people. No matter what they say or my belief, I'll probably listen to them and shut myself up because they're wiser. And there's a lot of people like that. But the people I work with the best, I think, are, I look for in a director someone who creates a real context in a space. As an actor, like with Tom Ford, for instance, and I refer to Tom like this, I feel this way about like Denis Villeneuve or, there's I could name a lot of directors that I worked with that I feel this way, but when they create a context and they create that space and it's very specific because they've put the time and preparation and their own detail into it. And then they ask for the next step, which is you to come in and fill that space, like just move within that space they've created. And when they create that, I can't even explain it. It's like I can feel it from their sense of framing or their choice of where they're putting the camera. I can also feel it in production design. I can feel the room I walk into and I open a drawer and there's the actual things in the drawer, that they've thought about or that we've talked about or but really I just want to be heard, and I think that's what it's like in any relationship. I think you just want to be able to express what you feel, right or wrong, have it be listened to, and then not necessarily have it be the thing that is used, but just be heard. And those are the people I work with the best. And yeah, those are the people that I really, I think so often I've said, Dan Gilroy, who I worked with on this movie Nightcrawler, Dan did all this research because it was his first movie, and he researched me and one of the things that I guess I'd said somewhere and he mentioned all the time was, I need it to be okay. I need you to hear all my ideas, even my bad ones, because I'm not the type of person I'm going to go with the best idea always.
Sure.
And that's what he did with me. He was just like, I'm going to hear all your ideas. I'm going to love them, and I'm going to dismiss 3/4 of them. and that's what I love.
That's a relationship. That's really kind of a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think one of the, and I don't know how if you even thought twice about this, but with Brokeback, I feel like everyone made such a big deal out of the fact of like, these two cowboys are guys, and it's like, but that's the story. Like, it's a love story. Like, what's why? I don't know. I mean, I guess because it was different, but I don't know. To me, it just seemed very much, because I saw a lot of interviews like, what was it? Like, well, it's we're actors.
Right,
We're actors.
Yeah.
What do you? I mean, if I played a vampire, no one would be like, what was it like playing a vampire? You know what I mean? Like,
biting there. Did you really bite their neck?
Bite the neck?
Are you
Wow.
really a vampire?
Do you drink blood now? Yeah. I mean, it's just such a strange. I don't know. I'm always. I guess.
Is it really that strange though? I mean, look, man. Like, is it really that strange? I mean, look where we are. I mean, I think sexuality and love is still the most complicated thing for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, culturally speaking, I think, it was sort of ahead of its time in a lot of ways, but also way behind the times in a lot of ways also. But just like, it was one of those things where it's easy to make fun of. One of the things I remember like about Heath was Heath never liked to make like everyone approaches at the time to make like joke and like go on a show and do some character. Like I remember even that year on the Academy Awards, we were asked to do something where we were like joking about it, and he was like, I'm not joking about it. It's not funny to me, And at the time, I was like, "What do you mean, man? Like, let's make fun. It's always fun to make fun of yourself." And then he was like, "No, I'm not making fun of it. It's not funny to me. You know, this is important. You know." And I, you know, at the time, I really didn't recognize how important it was to not really make fun of it.
Yeah.
You know, and no, it's not a surprise to me that, you know, even to this day, it's like it's constant, like in that way. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a surprise.
When I guess it's just one of those things where people are. I feel like we're so inundated with content at all times that people just get lazy. Mm-hmm. And so for them, it's just about, I'll just remember the most surface quality about this thing, and then that's what
most people do. But not most people. Some people do, but other people also come up and say, you know, that's a movie that changed my life. Like I was like in the closet, and you know, and then I saw that movie when I was this age, and I mean, I can't tell you how many people have come up and said that. You know, again, it's the same kind of conversation about that. The idea that the expectation is that people will all be the same, you know,
right.
And it's just a discussion, you know. So, as you know far better than I do, but I mean, I think there's a lot of really, really beautiful things besides the like joking. The joking just seems to be, you know, maybe a way of people easing themselves, maybe their own way of being uncomfortable about it. There are a lot of things about it for me, if I speak honestly, like, you know, that were uncomfortable for me and Heath to do. It was like not, you know, we were joking when we were in the middle of having to do stuff like that for the movie. So I understand the kind of poking fun, but I think in the end it's serious. And, you know, yeah, it's serious, and I'm so profoundly proud of that movie, like, and where we are now. Though I hope a lot of things are not reversed as a result of the election, and you know, a lot of provocation and things that people are saying. But I think we've come very far in a really beautiful way, and I don't want to reverse any of that stuff.
I don't know if it. I mean, I feel like people are too connected and socially active now to ever allow anything too severe. You know, it's like it's not the 50s where people didn't have a voice. Like,
wait, is this November 7th, 2005, 2015? I mean, sorry, because I absolutely disagree with you. But
no, I believe, I really do believe that there are too many strong voices for good in the world. Still, I really do believe that, and I
believe that too.
And I believe those voices can be heard now, and. You know, in the, like what I was saying, in the 50s, voices couldn't be heard because there was no way to amplify them. But, you know, essentially our entire culture runs around this amplification device and connects people. So I really...
Yeah, but also I think what it means is that we don't have to take responsibility for what we say.
Well, that
way.
Is 100% true. I could not agree with that more.
I think we live in a sort of hyper democracy at this point, where, you know, as a result of, you know, Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all these things, that everybody believes their opinion is really important. And the truth is, everybody's opinion isn't as important as someone else's who's an expert on something. Right. You know, like your opinion about how you feel about, you know, the theory of relativity is not the same as Einstein's. I'm sorry. I apologize, but go fuck yourself.
He had a very strong opinion about that. He had an incredibly strong opinion.
I'm sorry. Like, there are experts, and there are people who are wiser than us.
Sure.
And there are people who have more experience than us. And there is a hierarchy of thought, and education is important. Mm-hmm. And accumulating information, not just on like the internet, but because of out of experience and reading, and, you know, however you choose to accumulate information and learn, there is a hierarchy.
Right.
And I think that has been somewhat lost or is fading as a result of all of these means of communication.
Yes.
It's almost like Plato's revenge. It's like, you know, this idea that we are living in that space where it is kind of a hyper democracy, and where, you know, I think like there's space for tyrants to come into play, because like we're not listening to anybody. You know,
there's so much noise.
There's so much noise, and everybody believes that what they think is important, like me right now talking. Like, you know, like, why have you given me a platform? It's all the same shit, man. And like, there are wise people. Like, listen to Van Jones. Like, listen to the people who listen to a lot of other people. They're saying really incredible things, and I have a lot of opinions about that.
Are you on social media at all, or do you kind of?
I have a Facebook page.
Do you look at it at all?
No.
Okay.
I mean, occasionally I'll post something, and like I did this movie about the just guy Jeff Bowman, who's a survivor of the Boston Marathon bombings, and we did some posts during that time, and Jeff and I went, you know, we threw out the first pitch of the Sox game, stuff like that, and I looked at some of the response, like the what are they? The
comments.
The comments. Yeah. I looked. Sorry, I'm such a Luddite. But I
What
looked
are those
at some
sentences under the pictures. What are those called?
The books. The lots of books
it's like
and
they're
books.
but you can't turn the. Yeah, it doesn't smell like anything. What is that?
It doesn't smell like. I looked at them and what's really nice about, well, it's not always nice, but like there was a lot of positivity. You know, that was really nice. So sometimes I do, yeah. Sometimes I. But.
Yeah, I mean, there really is. There is, for everything in the world, there is someone who hates that thing. Mm-hmm. And basically the internet is just like, here's those people.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean, so
yes.
Do you ever wonder who could be mad at a baby eating applesauce? This fucking guy. You know, like, it's basically, you know,
so true.
It's such a strange cross section of, you know, it's just a magnet for. Well, you know what it is.
Can you entitle this episode "Baby Eating Applesauce"?
Yes, like call it "Baby Eating Applesauce." It'll be, you know what? It'll like that'll even. Jake Gyllenhaal and Baby Eat Applesauce. Like that will up the SEO of this, and like it'll trend just based on that title. But it, you know, it is it is kind of sifting through the junk and the finding. And I think you really have to take out the best 10% and the worst 10%, and the middle is kind of where people are having conversations. Mm-hmm. You know, some people are just gonna. You know, they'll like you no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. And some people will hate you no matter what you do. Or they just want to burn everything. And so if you can just kind of cut off the head and the tail, again, disguising the fish. If you can cut off the head and the tail and just sort of see what's in the middle. It's like, I think that's where it's finding those people to have conversations with. But I really try to engage people online to just talk. And even when I don't agree with people, I go, hey, we're not enemies. You can think this thing, and I can think this thing, and we can still come away with it not feeling like, well, this person doesn't agree with everything I believe in, so fuck them. You know?
Well, where has curiosity gone, man?
Oh, well,
like that's the real question.
It's gone. I'll tell you where that. That is a great question. And I think a lot of it has to do with comfort and convenience. You know, because being curious is not. I mean. It basically leads to not comfortable situations because you're asking questions. You may not like the answers to those questions.
Yes.
And so a lot of people just sort of build these bubbles where they are not challenged. They are surrounded by stuff they already like, and a lot of it's usually themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else, and so that really does, the comfort of that really does sort of squash curiosity because you're like, well, I know there's stuff on the other side of that bubble, but...
Yeah, but I think that has been the most amazing part of this election, if you allow it to be, which is that, you know, The Guardian put out this article that you know, I come from a very like left-wing family, like very progressive, you know, think we're, you know, God's gift and, you know, all that. But I don't fully believe that. You know, I don't fully believe everything that my family believes, and I don't subscribe to obviously the ideas of my parents completely, though I think a lot of their ideas in their generation have amazing ideas. But I don't subscribe to everything my sister believes, but there's an article about all the different like more right-wing news sites that, you know, I have all these applications on my phone of like I have The Guardian, I have Huffington Post, I have CNN, I had Fox News, I started Fox News too, but then I was like, oh wait, Breitbart, and you know, like Reason, like there are all these other places that I had never really, the opinions I had never really listened to. And I was so amazed and moved when I went to after this article went through all of the different sites that you can go to, like from either side, that are you should listen to.
Yeah.
I was curious, and I left going, wow. I mean, I have a lot of feelings, but I don't have. I understand where the feelings from other people and their opinions come from.
Sure, that's the most you can do. That's the best you can do.
And I think maybe the conversation, like I mentioned Van Jones because he did that really. He's doing that really wonderful piece on CNN about going to people's homes and asking them. He did it before the election, and then he's a really interesting guy. I applaud all of his work because it's he has a belief, but what is more important to him is going in and asking what's up. Like, maybe 3 of the things out of the 20 things that you have an issue with are maybe not founded in something solid. Maybe they're not rational. So let's talk about all 20. And maybe the things I think are the 3 things actually aren't. Maybe there's something else, and let's talk about it. And to me, that idea, just like to continue to be curious, to continue to live in a space where you go, like, that's not what I think, what I feel, the way I want it to be. I am fascinated and curious about the next 4 years for this country. People are afraid, a lot of things, but curiosity now. There are so many questions. So why not ask them?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think the art of conversation is a very precious thing. Because now, again, social media conditions people to just kind of yell. It's like yelling in your car, just like yelling, I feel this way right now,
right.
As opposed to, like, if someone doesn't like something I do and they yell and they go, that was fucking dumb, why'd you do this?
Yeah.
I go, well, you could have approached that from a sense of, was there a reason that this happened, or why did you? And you still don't have to agree with it afterwards, but at least you would, again, like you said, would understand what you would understand where I was coming from, or at least kind of see the human side of it. And I think everything's becoming so depersonalized that people don't think to try to understand, and everyone thinks they have all the answers all the time, and you don't. It's impossible.
Well, are you speaking to me? Sorry.
No.
But I think that I read. Do you know that graphic novel March? Do you know that? Just John Lewis. John Lewis, the comic.
Right. Yeah.
Like he did these kind of amazing 3 books called March 1, March 2, March 3, and it's all about the Freedom Riders and but it's a graphic novel about his journey through. He's an incredible human. I don't know him, but it would seem to be, at least from his books, he's a pretty incredible human, and from all of his experiences. And I guess to me, I so often I do believe that there are sides. We do have sides. Like you must take a side. Sometimes you don't have to necessarily understand the other side. Sometimes you have to take a side. Things are very complicated, and sometimes it's hard to see that. But what I see, though, I think it's important to fight, that the only real way of getting anything done is through nonviolence.
Sure.
And sometimes violence is I think I can see, and I've spent lots of time in different things with in the military and with police officers, and that's an incredible part of my job is seeing violence and seeing sometimes it's inevitable. But I can see that change, particularly on the side of someone like John Lewis and the Freedom Riders and all that stuff, and the times we're moving into, is ultimately Gandhi is the guy. Ultimately he really is the guy, and really is that idea, all that stuff is of essence, that there is conflict is important, but ultimately, like nonviolence is the way things become and evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so I mean, I guess I'm thinking, and I'm obviously thinking out loud. I'm not like preaching anything, but I do think that, and I've recently felt that, you know, and that doesn't mean not fighting. I guess that,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Sure.
It doesn't mean like sitting there and just, you know, you talk about mindfulness, not like
Right.
sitting there and just, but I have a number of beliefs, and one of them is that, and then the other one is that just like women are profoundly more evolved.
I would absolutely agree with
Yeah,
that.
but that's just an excuse to find a wife. So, you know, I'm just kidding.
You know, I do feel like my wife knows how to communicate with me, though, because she's got a Christmas ornament that is basically a farting Santa. And I was like, well, you know how
There you
to...
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
She just sent me this video. She was like, yeah, I got this ornament. And it's just a butt.
No man you ever know would ever give you that. There's no.
It's just a butt.
Wait, but how do you know it's Santa?
Well, because this is it. And then she pushes the button. This is on our
Wow, it's
tree.
a really slow build.
Yeah, but wait.
She's a keep.
She is.
She's a keeper. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it plays the whole song. I mean, it goes on. It goes on. So I feel like that's smart of her because she knows
More than you
how
do.
to get me into Christmas.
I thought you were going to say get me into bed, but
Get me in. She knows how to get me into bed. I got a weird farting Santa fetish. It's so bizarre. I don't know what it is.
so did Gandhi, man.
So he did. That's what made him such a complex leader. Is that he wasn't
you go.
afraid to.
There you go.
You know,
Yeah.
you sing Backstreet Boys, and he had that fetishism.
You said Backstreet Boys, man.
Oh, I feel like that was in your heart, though, right? That was deep inside your heart.
Backstreet Boys are in all of our hearts except for Eminem. Yeah.
I often there's so many things from the '90s that I feel like I remember hating this, but then when I listen to it now, I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of good.
It's sort of true. It's sort of true.
It's kind of fun.
What was I watching? Oh, man. When I was a kid, like, because I had an older sister, so I was just like, I was tortured by, like, all the stuff that, like, that girls do, you know, and, like, thought it was cool and then had to go to school and, like, tell people things, and they were like, that is not cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, and there's that movie, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, that my sister watched over and over again, and because she was older, and she's I mean, I don't know if you ever talked to her, but she's super smart and
Yeah,
and
I've
tough.
never talked to her, but yes.
Yeah, she's very sensitive, but super smart and tough. So, like, you know, I was her slave, and so I watched that, and a lot. I watched it a lot. I mean, like a lot, and and really, I didn't really want to watch it. I have to say, but it was, you know what it was? It was a little bit, yeah. It was like it was probably, yeah. It was like she was a tyrant. Yeah,
That's
she
right.
was a tyrant.
Yeah.
And it was on television, and I was like, this is a really well-made movie. I watched it the other day, and I was like,
I never thought about it, but I think girls really do just want to have fun. This is so
Cindy
true.
Lauper isn't even in that movie,
It's
which
not-
is
but
just
but spiritually.
brutal, man. Like,
Spiritually.
you wait out that whole movie for Cindy Lauper, and she never fucking shows up.
Never shows up.
But Sarah Jessica Parker and Helen Hunt are in it. Do you
Yeah.
know that?
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I am familiar with the movie. I am familiar with the.
Did you have an older sister?
No.
No excuse.
Okay. But you're right. It's so true. Yeah, but it's just like those anchor. I don't know. There's something that anchors. Anyway, all I'm saying is if you're announcing.
You're trying to steer away from Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
No,
but I'm not
I'm going to
let
bring
you.
it back because I feel
do
like
it.
if 9 Stories wants to produce a remake of Girls Just Want
Don't
to Have
think I haven't
Fun,
thought about it, my
This
friend. Don't think I haven't thought about it.
This is the perfect opportunity to make
It's
that
a
announcement.
A cash cow.
It's
Yeah.
waiting. It's reboot. We're in reboot culture.
I told you I'm a capitalist and a businessman too. Like, we talk about mindfulness and shit. I don't care, man.
No.
Like, bring it in, man.
Yeah.
Let's reboot Girls
I mean,
Just
I
Want to
like
Have Fun.
money, so let's make this happen.
I'm so in.
But it should really be.
I'd even play the dude who's on that dance show, who's like, I'd do a cameo. Like, I mean, are you kidding me? That's like, look, we'll talk about process and like how evolved I am, but like ultimately I'm not at all.
No.
So,
But you should really cast it like Charlize Theron, Amy Adams,
and Selena Gomez.
Dame Judi Dench, Dame Selena Gomez.
It's gonna happen.
I mean, I feel like this is an opportunity.
And
Why not? I don't know. I always have.
And not Cyndi Lauper again.
Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
exactly.
I'm trying to stick to the original that way. We just don't want to fuck with the. We don't want to alienate the core fans.
She's like, sorry, I'm busy doing kinky boots.
Yeah.
I did. Who was I talking to? Was actually might have been. Who was I was talking to Sarah Jessica, someone on this podcast about how I saw Cyndi Lauper at a restaurant and I really wanted to say hi to her and I didn't say hi to her.
Why not?
Because
Yeah, because you're cool.
no, I'm not at all. Because I'm very awkward and I just hate bothering people. I really don't feel good about bothering people because
Yeah.
I'm always that sort of shy kid who didn't socialize well when I was young, and so I just feel like I want to go up to people and go, "Hey, you're really great," and then she's gonna be like, "Thank you."
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Get out of my fucking face. Girls just want to have fun.
But not right now. You're killing that fun. So
I see your true colors.
they're shining through right now, time after time after time. But how are you around people do you ever go up to people? You must be at events where you go, oh, there's so and so. Do you go up and go, hey, I'm a big fan of or do you not?
Yeah, I sometimes and sometimes not. I sometimes I'll try and like I'll email somebody like if I'm really moved by something they've done, or I'll try and write a handwritten note. I've gotten notes from people handwritten, and it always means so much to me. And so when something I like that form of communication and expression. But I have like, I saw Harry Belafonte. He was awarded with an honorary Academy Award a few years ago, and he was and I was there at the event, and he asked him to meet me, and I was like, what the and I was at a table like way in the back, and someone came up to his daughter, I think, or came up to me and was like, my father would really like to meet you. I was like, what? So I went to his table, and I was dorked out, and like we exchanged numbers and stuff, and he called me and invited me to dinner, and I was like, oh, I don't know, and I didn't. And actually I was flying here to Los Angeles from New York on the plane, and Harry and his wife were on the plane, and he's like, we're having dinner, and I was like, okay, but I was like, I felt like I don't want to bother, like that was a year ago, I don't want to, or a year and a half ago, I don't want to bother him.
I think it's time, though. He
time
said
to bother
it.
him. I know.
He said it was his idea.
No, I know.
If he shows up to the dinner and he's like, "This is no fun," be like, "Motherfucker, this was your idea."
It's like he's Harry Belafonte. I mean, it's crazy, those types of things that happen. But I tend to like to tell artists always, that they move me. I am always moved when someone comes up to me and says, "Yo, like." That thing moved me. Like so many people at times want to take pictures or something, and a lot of times when people want to take pictures, I feel like it's more about them, because oftentimes they'll be like, "You want to take a picture?" I'm like, no, not right now, because I'm just hanging out with my friends or whatever. I'm on the subway, and and then they're like, "Ugh, what a dick." But no, but I'm like, not right now, and I'm like, "But you want to talk?" And they're like, "No." I want to talk to you.
I don't want to get to know you.
Get to know you.
I just want to post your picture on my Instagram.
Yeah, like that is always interesting. So. But I really love it when people say stuff like, hey, I don't like this, or I don't like you, or I do. I like the I like the connection. I like that kind of connection, and I like doing that with other people. So I encourage people to do that to the people.
I think the Harry Belafonte.
I encourage you to do it.
Well, yeah, I know, but Cyndi Lauper didn't ask me to hang out. I just think
no, but I mean, but still, man, you're a huge Cyndi Lauper fan.
She's the best.
You listen to girls just want to have fun.
Can I be honest? I unironically love Cyndi Lauper.
She's amazing.
Love. Girls just want to have fun. Just scratch the. Just that was a novelty song, but all of her other songs.
Not true. That's a brilliant pop song.
It is. It is a brilliant pop song too.
It's a brilliant.
But at the time, it was like it was a brand new. Because I remember when that song came out, and it was like, who is this girl with the crazy dress? And she's got the hair and the waffle pattern shaved into the side of her head, and there's Captain Lou Albano. It was like the whole thing just felt like a traveling circus show.
Yeah.
And and she still kind of feels like that in the best way. But I just. you know,
Remember that year every girl was Cyndi Lauper for Halloween? It was just like my sister was Cyndi Lauper, all of her friends were Cyndi Lauper. I just remember.
really?
Yeah.
And she made you dress up like Cyndi Lauper because you...
No, but she didn't. What was I? I was like we had the weirdest Halloween costumes in my family, so I was like a cranberry juice box or something. I swear to God, my dad did the weirdest. Like my dad, yeah. He made me. I think I was a cranberry juice box.
That's pretty great, though.
No, it's incredible. Unless you're a cranberry juice box,
Then maybe it's not so fun.
and then you're carrying like an enormously heavy, weird cardboard thing.
Is
You
your
can't
head
move.
the straw, or is it? How
The
does it?
straw was, I think, out the side.
Right.
My face was painted white. You know what I mean? I had like a white spandex suit with like this actual cranberry box, and then I couldn't really walk very well because it was it's rectangular and thin on the side, so you like.
So this was not your choice.
So your arms are sticking out, like
You didn't say I want to be a cranberry juice box. Your dad said you're going to be a cranberry.
I'm not a huge Halloween fan because so I've never really been because maybe it was my dad was so enthusiastic about it. So I sort of just procrastinated and was like, Dad, you do it, and then cut to me trapped in a box on Halloween,
Yep.
which is generally how it went.
That could have contributed to your distaste for Halloween. See,
Yeah, but I live Halloween every day.
every day.
Yeah,
I know.
So,
This is good advice though, because when we have kids, because we're super into Halloween and Disneyland
Oh, really?
and all the. I mean, you can
I
see all
love
the
Disneyland.
toys.
I love Disneyland.
It's great.
Yeah.
It is great. Do you get to go very often?
Not that often, but I got really. I hadn't gone a long time. I went recently, and I loved it so much.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really.
What I want to be careful of is not to force, when we do have kids, like, you gotta love this so much,
Yeah.
because they're naturally going to rebel no matter what.
Not Disneyland.
That probably not Disneyland, though.
Not Disneyland.
Do you find that it's true that sort of messaging from Nocturnal Animals? Do you find that you become your parents as much as do you kind of catch yourself going, oh, that's weird. Yeah, I didn't. And that feels like.
I made this joke the other day. I was like, man, I looked at my face. I was like, God, it looks so weird. I look like both of my parents.
How'd that happen?
Yeah. Ugh.
Ugh, what happened?
But I think that inevitably there are parts of you that do, and it's beautiful. There are things about both of my parents that I love so much, and I'm so grateful for. I think they're like some of the most incredible people I know. But and then there are parts of me that have probably been like maybe squashed a little bit because of their overwhelming sense over me, as most parents are. And I think in that sense, as long as that when I talk about that instinct in work of listening to that thing where I plug in and I'm like, I'm plugged into the right. I feel like nothing's forced. It's right. When I feel that, I know it's me. And sometimes I feel like when it's me, I'm defying that thing that I've been taught, or that thing that is my parents.
Sure.
And I think in the movie of Nocturnal Animals, what she says to her, and what I think Tom Ford is trying to say through Laura Linney's character is, when you don't really live the life, or you don't fall in love or love someone that you truly believe you don't connect with, you're doing because convention tells you you're supposed to, then you do become your parents.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's like, I think sometimes it's not always conscious. I think that it's an unconscious process sometimes, but again, if you take responsibility for yourself and you know yourself and you want to know your own mind, I think then you can kind of slowly move towards who you are and move away from that. Because I think the natural process, at least from I hear from all my friends who are parents and from people who have been parents or will probably always be, the process is like you have them and they leave.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful, and it should be. So the hope is that if you don't follow what convention tells you, you follow what you believe. And
Right.
then you don't become that. And that's what I think Nocturnal Animals is about, is that the character I play is the guy who's saying, we love each other, right? Like, and at the time, I think he's not necessarily all right because he's not evolved fully. So she sort of makes this choice to leave him, but they have real love. It's something real. and it's something true, and they both know it. And then she gets scared, and she cowers in the face of her mother and what she's been told. And she doesn't listen to her own heart. She listens to what she thinks she should do. And she gets all the trappings that we all hope we can get. The capitalist dream, the perfect house, and everything's clean, and there are hundreds of servants doing everything for you, and essentially you're back in the womb again, and she's lost the thing she loves the most, and she has become her mother. So she stayed with her mother. She hasn't gone out.
Right.
And I think that's the idea. The idea from that movie when she says we all become our mothers, that her mother's become her mother.
Of course.
And she's saying it to her, and she is telling her it's this inevitable thing, and it doesn't have to be true.
Right.
And ultimately, the thing that's born from this movie, the end, is this beautiful story. And inevitably something will be born, not necessarily in that movie their own child,
right?
But this book and a communication to her to go be alive and live, which is why I think the movie's really hopeful in the end.
Right.
In the end, I think, it's spoilers, but like in the end, he doesn't show up, but he gives her the opportunity to live again.
Right.
And those old dreams of who he was, he is no longer. He killed that when he created this thing to express to her how much he loved her.
Right.
And that is, that's a way in which he's allowed her not to become her mother.
God, see, I feel like I need to watch more movies, but you need to be there explaining them. Because that was because at the end of it, I was like, oh man, why did he? What the fuck?
It was a really funny. I was at a screening once in London, and there's a guy who goes, "Hey," he raises his hand. They're like, "We'll open the questions up to the audience," and he was like, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I just show up," and I was like, "Whoa, dude! I mean, first of all, I didn't write the script, but second of all, she divorced me and aborted our child. So like, what do you mean?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "That was 30 years ago."
Sir, this is not a documentary.
And then he was like, I was like, I don't know what to say to you. He was like, "It's Amy Adams."
Oh my God.
I was like,
he was
really
jumping a lot of reality lines.
It was over. It was over.
So in the movie, you should have done this because that was Amy Adams and not the character.
That happens all the time, dude.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
We just talked about it. It was like, you play a gay cowboy, so you must be, It's just
right.
It's always the same thing, It's like, I wish I was as much of a badass as some of the characters I've played. It's like wish fulfillment.
But I think that actually is a huge compliment because people get so immersed that they feel like you're that guy. You must be that guy. How could you not be that guy?
Certainly hope that they do. That's what I hope happens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like, I'm not. For a long time, I did it because I wanted people to think I was something different than I am, and now I just don't. I do it because I want people to be immersed. It's why you don't. If you say you don't see me on social media or anything like that, like my job doesn't require that. My job requires that I play a character and I play that character as best as I can and immerse myself into that space so that you can have an experience when you go see a movie that you enjoy or that moves you or whatever it is. That's my job.
What was it before? What did you think you were doing before? What were you trying to do before?
I think maybe like, you are, you're told or you believe you're going to find love in, playing. I don't know. I think I thought, let me articulate this better. I think I thought maybe, trying to think about like how I can articulate this the best way. Pretending to be the thing that everybody would like.
Sure. Okay.
And not really myself. That was what I was trying. It was like, oh, do this movie because then it's going to lead to that. Like, there's this belief. it was like this whole thing that, I mean, I respect George Clooney, but I think he said something like, well, 2 for me or 1 for them or something like that.
Right.
And people say that to me all the time. I'm like, that is the most self-conscious way of looking at a career. And don't think I don't plan and think about things, but I will never make a decision based on like 1 for someone else and 2 for me. I just won't. And I don't think that's what he means necessarily, but I think it's misinterpreted a lot to say like, well, I'm going to do something that's not really me, and then I'm going to go do something that is really me.
Right.
It's like it doesn't really make. So I think I was like just doing that. I was listening to a lot of other people said, and that, oh, this is going to give you an opportunity, and that's going to give you an opportunity, and then you're going to, again, you know, you'll put a down payment on the world at one point. You know?
Right.
And I just am not.
But I think you're lucky that you figure that out now, and not when you're 70. Like, oh shit, none of that mattered. You know, like I think it's good to figure that out now. I feel like I'm only just figuring that now, and I'm older than you are. But it is important because it requires so much energy to tap dance all the time and try to, hey, I mean, you like me now? Huh? How about this? Like it's fucking too much energy. It's so consuming, and then you're not really making good choices because they're sort of fear-based choices. Oh, what if, you know? And it's not. That just doesn't go in a good place. It doesn't end up in a good place.
Very tiring, yeah.
It is really tiring.
But again, I go back to like, dude, like we're sitting at a table in like a really nice part of Los Angeles with like really smart, wonderful people around us. Like you're doing the thing you love, and you're asking me like about me as if what I have to say is important. Like what an amazing thing to be doing,
yeah,
you know, as a job.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think about that a lot. And it's not to dismiss the relativity of everything, you know, I mean, but it is one of those things that I, particularly now, can't stop thinking about. You know, I think the state of the world and where we are is based on the fact that so many people don't have jobs, you know, and we're like, you know, just like we are in an incredible place to even have a work, but also the work that we love and that we even want to talk about.
Right. Well,
So-
I think, you know, work-wise, that's the best you can hope for is, you know, do I enjoy what I'm doing, and do I not have to do things I don't want to do? I think I always say that's the most success you could ever ask for. It doesn't matter what the metrics are.
What does Sondheim say? And he says,
Girls just want to have fun.
yeah, right. Some ways, yeah. In certain things, in some ways, he
that's what I
says that, yeah. It's not as much. It's not as much do what you like as it is that you like what you do.
Right.
You know, and I think that's like a nice way of putting it.
What else are you? Is there anything else as we're sort of wrapping this up? What else besides? When does Stronger come out? Are you just editing that now?
Yeah, that comes out next year. We don't have a firm release date yet, but.
So what else are you? Is there anything else that you're working on that you want to mention or talk about, or anything else you're excited about?
I mean, I've just done a lot of things. I did this movie called Life with Ryan Reynolds and Rebecca Ferguson and a lovely cast with Daniel Espinosa who directed it. About this like crew on the International Space Station who discovers a new form of life, but it's a super fun and scary movie.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
No, it's really. Yeah, and Seamus McGarvey, who shot Nocturnal Animals, cinematographer of Nocturnal Animals, shot that movie too. So it's beautiful. And I did this movie called Okja that Bong Joon-ho, it's an amazing filmmaker who did like Mother and Snowpiercer. And
yeah. Snowpiercer was fun. It was a video game. It was basically like a video game.
Yeah. And he did The Host. He's an amazing filmmaker. I just did a movie with him in Korea, which is like international cast, but like half Korean, half English movie about I won't tell you what it's mind-blowingly cool.
Are you not allowed to say what the thing?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say. I don't think I'm allowed.
Okay.
But it's just like Tilda Swinton's in it, and a number of incredibly incredible people. But
Tilda Swinton is a mythical creature. She is amazing.
Yes, she is. She's also one of the most lovely people.
Yeah.
I guess mythical creatures are really lovely.
They're very a lot of them are.
Some of them are.
Some of them aren't that great.
Beware.
But she is a good one. She is a good one.
She is, and like almost poses from afar as if she might not be, but like truly, she's a unicorn.
She really is.
She's a unicorn, and like the loveliest unicorn. Who is? I had no idea. Like I had no idea what a big heart she has.
I don't know. At Comic-Con this past year, they were taking our pictures for something, and then I just said, "Can I take an awkward prom picture with you?" And she just she
was like, "Yeah,
yeah." She took Big Spoon. She took Big Spoon and just wrapped her arms around me, and it was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But just she was so checked in. Didn't go, "What is this?" Like she was just didn't even question it.
She's so great. She's so great. Yeah, she's in that, and she produced that Okja, and
so she'll be in Girls Just Want to Have Fun too. The reboot, right?
Oh my God, dude, this is gonna, if this happens,
I saw a light go on in your eye.
That is an amazing idea.
Obviously, your sister has to be in it. I mean, you would have to. Do you not put her in it because?
I mean, everybody was like 35, 40 playing high school.
Yeah.
Movie, so like, we could all be in it. Yeah.
I think that could be part of the fun of it is that everyone is clearly not 16 years, like everyone is.
I know. How old were they?
Well,
they're great in it.
Sarah, I mean, the 80s, I guess Sarah Jessica would have been in her early to mid 20s back then.
Both of them, her and Helen Hunt, I'm safe to say, incredible in that.
They're incredible.
Like, I'm not joking. There's some incredible stage actors in that movie. And this is the thing about that movie. And it does speak to the times that we're in, because we joke about it, but there's a lot of craft in that movie and a lot of preparation that today's filmmaking you don't see as much anymore. Like, you cut on a Moviola is different than you cut on an Avid, and you can like change everything, and everything's digital, and you can take this person out of a frame and put some version. You couldn't do that at the time. So craft was so different, even in movies like that. And you watch back on it, you're like, that choice was a choice. It was planned. They planned it for months. They rehearsed it for months. They had to. There was no pretending here. It was like, and such good actors in that movie. I was really.
Well, I think
really moved by it.
So, in addition to Nocturnal Animals, you're also promoting Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Yeah. Yes. Life, Nocturnal Animals, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and Okja. Yeah.
I hope someone like Cinema Blend or someone just picks it up. Jake Gyllenhaal's ready to produce reboot of Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
I'm so down.
I mean, you can source it here. You can source it here. Wikipedia.
Dude, I'm so down for that.
I'm so happy that it was such a pleasure chatting with you. I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
It was so nice of you to come. And also, thank you for. I just realized I'm still wearing my TV makeup and my.
Yeah, you look a little like a dick. I was gonna say it's fine. I was like, "What?" You walked in. I was like, "He has makeup on for a radio interview."
Doing? Yeah,
what a dick.
No, the audience can hear it, man. They just hear. They can hear the.
It's my mask. It's my mask. It's my mask.
Question the mask. The audience can hear the blemishes when it's not covered up. No.
This is who I am. It's who I am.
This is who I am. Just just like mascara around my eyes, and it's just like lipstick.
You're a unicorn too.
I'm not a Tilda Swinton unicorn, but yeah, it's the TV makeup is. I didn't
even notice, man.
Well, I appreciate it. That's what I was fishing for, so I appreciate that. I just realized at the end of it. Because I don't know if most people, I don't know if they know when they come here, like, oh, this is where you shoot a show, and this isn't just a podcast studio.
You just like get a weird random room.
No.
Okay, yeah.
No. Our stage is on the other side. This is my dressing room is through there, and I put this little podcast room here so that I could walk off, like come out of work and come straight to this one to do this.
And you just like walk in here and just like have like semi-interesting people in here. Talk to them.
I mean,
I'm just speaking for myself, but you walk out of your work into another work, and you have conversations. With
and there's there's no reason for me to do this other than I just like doing it. I just like talking to interesting people, and for me, it's always been. Just trying to learn from people and understand why people make the choices they make and how do they navigate a lot of the same shit that so many of us who do this kind of thing seem to have. So it's always interesting to get this kind of human side of people and go, well, I didn't really know anything about Jake before the thing, but what a fucking great guy. And what a, like just to hear, I don't know. And there were even
Do you
things,
find that people are generally honest?
I mean, I have no way of really knowing, but I do feel like that to talk to someone for this long, sometimes people come in and I can feel the shields go up because they're used to doing junkets. And, they're worried that, am I saying the right thing, or how is this going to get dissected and used, and what is it?
Yeah.
What story do I not intend for this to come out of? But this is just, we kind of just let it be what it is. So it, there's no, I always want people to kind of leave feeling like, oh, that was nice, because I don't want anyone to feel blindsided, and I want it to feel just open. And I mean, I think people are honest, unless, a lot of them, there are a lot of actors, so maybe they're just exceptional pretenders, but I feel like it's hard to do that. I feel like you can kind of tell at a certain point, like, I don't know, you know? And I do think even people who struggle a little bit at the beginning to relax into it, they usually do. We have a pretty good success rate for that, and I don't know what to attribute that to, but I just feel like when you really just let someone talk for a while, it's like, this sort of goes away, and then you're just talking. And that's why I don't have a list of questions and then what happened, because I don't want people to go into Charlie Rose mode where they're like, I don't know.
I'm pretending like I'm smart, which means I'm stupid.
Charlie, your eyes are dead. Are you alive? And then what? What did you do after the
No, he just walks out of his suit and his suit just stays there.
Have you ever done that?
I'm sorry, Charlie's gone. We don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened to him. It's just a sentient suit now. But I guess you could talk to the suit.
This table's been here for 130,000 years. This was my table that I shared with the dinosaurs when I interviewed them.
Tell me about the asteroid. What? The asteroid. They got rid of all the dinosaurs. And Charlie's just a fucking... Charlie feels like one of those guys that could...
He lives in the space-time continuum.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. He will always be alive, and he feels like a guy that is probably, could go and drink until 8 a.m. and then go straight to work, put on a different tie, and be... I'm not saying he does that. I'm just saying he feels like that kind of old school guy, that kind of guy.
He's like one of the, like, that prestigious interview that, like, you see the people who you respect, I remember Ed Zwick, who's so smart and, like, just sort of cower at Charlie Rose, I remember, like, I'd be like, hey, Charlie. He'd be, don't say hello to Charlie Rose. You know what I mean? I'd be like, what the? And then he'd be like, well, and then he'd use all these huge, big, like, Harvard words, and I was like, I wouldn't know what he was saying. He's like, well, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, like, and I'd be like, what is happening? And yeah, Charlie Rose just turns people into,
because
intellectual mush.
Because he's an immovable object. You can't throw him off. He knows his shit, and he's not afraid.
And if he doesn't know his shit, someone's telling it to him in his ear.
At least somewhere he has created this artifice. But he also just doesn't. He just can't knock him down.
Yeah, why don't you make a fist and hold your hand like that when
the most defensive body posture possible to make people feel uncomfortable. I just want you to know there's a barrier here. This is going one way. You're not getting in this way. Yeah,
I could do it.
Thanks for being here, man. It was a real pleasure. Enjoy your burrito, everyone, and go see Nocturnal Animals, which is this going up when it's still in?
Next week.
It's going up next week. Still in theaters. Go see Nocturnal Animals, and come back anytime.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Enjoy your burrito, everyone.
Now leaving Nerdist.com. Enjoy your burrito.
This episode of the Nerdist Podcast is brought to you by IT is Greater Than Sci-Fi, which you can listen to at vmware.com/radius.sci-fi or download from iTunes. If you've ever been watching a movie and you're going, why don't they just fix the problem like that? Well, of course, if they did, it wouldn't be a movie. But tech pioneer VMware said, screw that, we're going to turn this idea into a podcast. So they dropped in a couple of IT guys into classic sci-fi movies like Star Wars or The Matrix and Terminator to plug the technology plot holes. So check it out. IT is greater than sci-fi, available on iTunes or vmware.com/radius.sci-fi.